Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Alan Hathaway from the Garrison Church of God. I'm glad you joined me for this sermon today. I want to just share with you some thoughts on All Saints Day Eve, and this particular Sunday is October the 31st. A lot of things happened on All Saints Day. In 1517, Martin Luther began the Reformation with the posting of the 95 Thesis. It also was a time when people thought about the concept of indulgences in the Roman Catholic Church and the idea of the option of the saints covering sins in those kinds of processes, and that was part of what led to Martin Luther posting his 95 Thesis. But I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that are also a part of this holiday. Going back many centuries, this time of the year was the celebration of New Year's for the Celtic people. New Year's Day began for them on November the 1st, and on the eve of that, they would light fires in their domains to try and keep the world warm through the winter season, because this was also the beginning of winter for the Celtic people. We don't know what exactly they celebrated during that time. They called it Samhain, but we don't even know if that was the name of one of their gods. It may have simply been the name of this particular season for them. But we do know that there were a lot of celebration activities that have come down to us in some of the things that we celebrate around this particular time of the year. But it wasn't just from Celtic tradition that we get some of that celebration. Some of that actually comes from ancient Greek and Roman culture, particularly the underworld celebrations that took place around this particular time. They're called chthonic gods and goddesses that were celebrated. They're primarily fertility deities and chaos deities and deities that involve the realm of death and darkness and recreation. And those are some of the things that really are focused in at this particular juncture of the year. And so it was a time when it was believed among ancient people that the separation between the world, this world, and the nether world was very narrow or thin, and it could be easily breached at this time of the year. So there was a lot of fear, a lot of concern, and a lot of excitement that went through that process, and a lot of rituals that developed. Some of the rituals we have probably have some roots in those rituals, but also a lot of them were just made up in the centuries and in the millennia since then. So we can't take we have to take a lot of that with a grain of salt. But what we do know is that those rituals and those activities were a part of what we call idolatry. Idolatry is a powerful force in our lives. The Bible tells us that there are basically two reasons that we worship. The first reason that we worship is because of fear. We fear that. We fear what we worship, and that is a sense that that thing that we worship can take from us something, so we are fearful of it, or that person, or a deity. The other thing that we worship is because of our desires, what we want, what we value, what we reach out toward. And so we worship that which we believe can get us what we want and what we desire. And those two things are motives that are a part of human worship. They are part of all human worship, including our Christian worship. Jesus would tell us in Matthew's gospel that we should fear the one who can destroy both body and soul in hell. So the concept is that God needs to be feared because of his justice and his almighty power. And because of that, we need to honor him and respect him and reach out to him in faith and commitment. The other thing is that we are told to desire, and Jesus again in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 6 particularly, tells us that we should seek first the kingdom of God in order to have all the things that are necessary in our lives. And Jesus goes down through a list of those things that are necessary, food and clothing particularly. But those concepts are that we should worship God because he is the creator, the one who sustains, the one who provides, the one who has all authority. The problem with an idol and God is that God is the one who controls things, but with an idol, I am the one who controls things. Because with an idol, it's the idea that I have enclosed a little chunk of the divine inside that idol. And I can basically get that divine nature to do what I want it to do. If I say the right rituals, or if I perform the right rituals, or if I say the right prayer formula, or if I provide the right sacrifice, those things will obligate the deity that I have captured in my idol to provide me with what I want or protect me from what I fear. And that's really the problem with idolatry, because ultimately in idolatry, I am in control, not God. As Christians, we believe that God is in control, and his person, his deity cannot be contained in anything. In fact, the universe is too small to contain the whole of God's deity, power and authority, and his glory. He is the source of mercy and justice. And when we understand that about God, that changes everything. And for us to reach out with the idea of being able to create an idol that can contain him is a fearful thing. No wonder God says, I am a jealous God. I will not tolerate worship of anything else, because worshiping anything else in our lives basically is saying, I have control over that. I have control over this deity. Romans and many ancient peoples had household shrines. And in those household shrines, they had totems or objects that contained the divinity, as it were. Some of those totems contained the divine spirits of their ancestors or their family members. Other totems contained the divine essence of a natural force or spiritual force, a god, if you will. And by praying to those or offering them food or bathing them and taking care of them and serving them, you would obligate that God to protect your home and protect your person and protect your property, and also provide you with the opportunity to prosper. And isn't that really what a lot of the things that we depend upon? Now, sometimes we idolize some frightening things in our lives. Because of that, there are many men that have ignored their families and idolized their jobs and their professions in order to get ahead, to the destruction and detriment of their families. That is an idol. You are worshiping it, you are serving it, you are honoring it above everything else in your life, because you believe it will get you where you want to go. There are many women who have sacrificed virtue on the altar of security. There are both men and women who have broken their vows to their spouses in worship, in a sense of their desire for a different partner. And there are children that have treated their parents with contempt and disrespect because they stood in the way of what they wanted. And then there are also parents that have ignored or aborted their children for convenience and personal freedom. And those are all idols. We can make an idol out of just about anything. We can make an idol out of a favorite car. We can set up a room for a dead child and create an idol shrine out of that. We can do all kinds of things that worship these things, and they are destructive to us and to those around us. Idolatry ultimately leads to destruction in our lives because we are ultimately worshiping our desires and our fears. We are not worshiping God who created us, who made us, who wants a relationship with us and wants to save us. Because of that, we are never really happy. We are never content. We are never safe. We are never secure because we are always needing to worship our idol to get us where we want to be or to keep us from where we don't want to go. And that's a frightening world. I don't want to live there. I hope you don't want to live there. In 1 Corinthians, it talks a lot about idols, particularly in chapter 10. It talks to us about what it means to have idols in our lives and to be controlled by idols, and how we as Christians don't need to be controlled by idols. I hope you take time to read it. I hope even more you'll take time to come to church this morning. God bless you. You have a wonderful week. We'll hopefully see you in church.